Good morning, friends. Welcome to Take Two for this Tuesday, the 13th of August, 2019. I'm Jeannie. I'm so glad that you've decided to come along for the ride this morning. Well, I want to speak to you very briefly this morning about something that's near and dear to my heart. Now, I know I've shared on this subject before, but I woke up this morning with such a burning in my heart that I needed to say it again. So I am going to say it. Maybe one of you out there who has subscribed in recent days maybe has not heard me share this message before, or maybe somebody who has heard it just needs to hear it again. But I want to talk to you about the issue of forgiveness and forgetting. Now, a lot of people think that once you've forgiven someone who has done something awful to you, or done something awful, period, that once you've forgiven them, you have to just forget it and make believe it never happened. Well, the truth be known, boys and girls, we're not designed that way. Our minds and our thoughts are not designed to just instantly forget something. Now, I'm not talking about holding a grudge, okay? I'm going to bring some balance here. I'm not talking about holding a grudge. What I'm talking about is the issue of not being able to forget something because it is something that was huge that you needed to forgive somebody for. Like, for example, say some horrible tragedy has befallen you at the hands of somebody else. Like, for example, say a member of your family was killed by a drunk driver or an enraged person with a gun or some horrible thing like that. And your loved one is dead. You can't say, okay, I've forgiven the person who's done the deed, and I'm just going to forget and act like my loved one isn't dead. Well, of course, that's ridiculous, isn't it? You can't possibly forget a thing like that. And here's another misconception that we have, boys and girls, and that is we think a lot of times that forgiving is equal with saying that the thing that was done to you is just simply okay. Well, it's not. If someone has gone out and killed a loved one of yours and you say, I forgive you for doing that, that is not the same as saying, oh, and by the way, the fact that you kill them, that's okay. No, absolutely not. A crime is a crime, a sin is a sin, and that's just, there's no two ways around that one. Another misconception we have about forgiveness is that we think that when we've forgiven someone, then suddenly we need to be their best friend. Well, that's a lot of nonsense. I mean, why would we need to be? You know, I know that there was a person in my life, in my childhood particularly, who did terrible, terrible things to my family. And when I chose to forgive this person for the terrible things that he had done, not only to me, but also to the rest of my family, various different things, that did not mean that I needed to suddenly be palsy-walsy with the person and that I had to be best friends. Absolutely not. See, there's a balance. You gotta balance it out, boys and girls. You gotta balance out that forgiveness and that forgetting, that forgiveness and that balance of just to say, okay, which is it? What do I do? Now, if it's somebody like, say, your spouse, and say your spouse was untrue to you, or your spouse did terrible things like had a gambling problem, or it was a drug addict, or something like that, and you're working with that spouse because they're truly, truly sorry for what they've done and truly want to get on the right track and you're sticking with them, okay, that's one thing. But if they constantly are repeatedly doing these horrible things with no remorse whatsoever, and you do end up splitting from them, and you say, okay, but that means that I need to be their best friend. No, it does not mean that. And sometimes, sadly, it's even siblings that this happens to. And that is always a very, very sad thing. But you've got to be balanced, boys and girls. Now, let me tell you something. Forgiveness is always important. Okay, so you forgive. All right, that's it. But forget, you don't have to just say, okay, I'm just going to forget about it. All right, I'm done. That's it. Sometimes you just have to remember that there are things that are going to be happening in the course of your life that you cannot forget, but it's letting it eat away at you, letting it become to a point of revenge and giving you practically a cancer in your heart over it. That's when it becomes unbalanced, okay? So balance it out, boys and girls. Make sure you can be balanced out with this whole thing. Forgive, yes, always. Now, let me tell you, God says that he will forgive you if you are truly repentant, and he will take your sin, your transgression from you. He'll toss it into the sea of forgetfulness. And if you were to go back and say, hey, God, remember that sin I committed, 10 minutes ago? He'll say, what sin? Because he tossed it into the sea of forgetfulness. That is a wonderful, wonderful thing to know, that he forgets, and that he forgives and forgets. But we are human. We are not designed that way. And although he gives us an example of making sure that we do the forgiveness part, he also knew exactly what he was doing when he made our bodies the way he did and made our minds the way he did, so that we could be human. And having that humanness in us means sometimes that when terrible tragedies befall us, that we need to remember that we can forgive, absolutely forgive. But forget, that's another story. So what do we do with the not forgetting part? That's the key. Take that not forgetting part and let it serve as a tool for you to be a better person. Let it serve as a tool for you to remember to not do those kinds of things that were done to you, okay? Not to do unto others, the negatives, okay? Use every single awful thing and good thing in your life as a life learning lesson of what to do and what not to do. All right? Use it for good. Now, go out there and be a blessing to somebody today. If you know somebody who is having issues, and needing to forgive somebody, but they're struggling with the misconceptions that others have laid on them about the whole forgiveness factor, you go be there and go be a blessing to them and share the thoughts that I've just shared with you. Show them this video if they've never watched my Take Twos before. Let them know. And how do you do that? Well, of course, what you want to do is you want to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Tell your friends. I need some new subscribers, boys and girls, especially with all the new programming that we're getting ready to launch. So go to JEANNESIGLER, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, hit that little notification bell, and you'll be notified every time I post another Take Two. And as I said, don't forget to be that blessing, because you know what, boys and girls? You may end up being the only one who is. All right, I love you all very much, and I'm very serious. If you have any questions, don't forget, message me. Let me know. Subscribe, put a little message underneath. Let me know how I could get in touch with you, and I would love to talk to you about this, because unforgiveness, sadly, is a very big and horrible thing going on in this world today because of all the horrible things that are happening. You have to be one to learn to truly, truly forgive. It goes a very long way. All right, I love you. I'll see you tomorrow for Hump Day. You have a great, terrific Tuesday. I love you.